Hello, welcome to today's edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're going over the Swedish 304 webbing system. The 304 system kind of shows a system in transition, and what do I mean by that? Previously to this, all Swedish field equipment, as far as I can tell, was basically leather-based. And it looks like when this system came along, they decided to upgrade it to nylon, and they kind of looked around and decided to copy elements of the US Alice system. Now that's just an assumption on my part, do not hold me to it, but that's what I feel by looking at this gear. And they've decided to go with some more modern materials. They went in an older pattern that you'd see on a lot of webbing sets that were leather based, and eventually they would abandon this and go on to the SDS-12 system, which is all moly based, and we'll be doing a review of that in the future, but not quite yet. So how does this work? Well, if you know how U.S. Army, U.S. military Alice system works, it works much the same way. There are differences, but it generally works the same way. And the good news is it's very Alice compatible. Now, as you look at me, you'll see I have the pouches way out to the side, and that's a personal choice. Most photographs I've seen of the 304 system shows the Swedish soldiers having the pouches more here. I've chosen to have them more off to the side to keep my front clear when I'm in the prone position out in the field. Now, what are these pouches good for? These are your ammunition carrying pouches, and they do pretty good. They seem to hold 4 magazines regardless of type. 4 is apparently the magic number. For example, over in this pouch, I pull up on the flap, I can pull out 4 AR mags, or in Swedish service these would be for the AK-5 or the AK-5C. Over here in my other pouch, I can pull out 4 G3 mags, or which in Swedish service was the AK-4. So obviously this system works for holding what the Swedes needed to hold for the weapon systems they're deploying. Additionally, the pouch is AK magazine compatible if you run that weapon system, and again, the magic number of 4 applies. Additionally, my friend Brent 0331 always tells me, if you have a pouch that'll hold 4 or 5 magazines, you have a pouch that'll hold 100 rounds of linked ammo. And that seems to be holding true here with the Swedish system. We'll open the pouch, and sure enough, out comes 100 linked rounds. Now, they're in there snug, but they do fit, and you can get them out. And the Swedes, since they deploy a version of the FN mag similar to our 240 machine gun, probably do carry their ammo in this manner. Alright, so let's go over the features of the 304 webbing system. First is the pouch. 4 is the magic number. It'll hold 4 AR mags, which is AK-5C for the Swedes. It will hold 4 G3 mags, which is AK-4 for the Swedes. And it'll hold 4 AK mags. So whatever mag you need to hold, you're going to get 4 of them. And that's not a bad thing. With 2 pouches, that's 8 total. Not a bad loadout. It'll also hold 100 rounds of linked ammo. A little snug, but it will do it. And I imagine this same rig is what the Swedish machine gunners are using, since they deploy a version of the FN mag / M240 machine gun as well. In addition with this, you do get the Swedish canteen pouch. You'll notice there's no canteen in it. When you're paying only $11, hey, you get what you're paying for. Now, it's a new canteen pouch. Matter of fact, the whole rig seems to be mostly new, and what little discolorings on the metal parts and on the leather seems to be from just storage. It doesn't seem to be from use. Anyways, the canteen, obviously it'll work with a Swedish canteen. The pouch is just a little bit too small. You cannot quite get a US GI canteen in there. I have no idea if it'll work with British, Finnish, or German, or any other country's canteen systems, but obviously it was designed for the Swedes. The belt itself here has a unique securing system we'll go over in a moment, but as you can see, the general layout is just the same as US military Alice, and it is actually very Alice compatible, which is a good thing. Some of the other features: instead of a plastic or metal buckle like you would find on the US military's Alice system, you have a piece of leather webbing with a series of notches in it that go into a buckle that has a series of spikes in it. Your suspenders on this, unlike the Alice system, which are held in place through the same type of keepers that this system uses, the Alice system is a Y of front straps connecting to a point in the back where you have a single strap going back to the base of the belt or butt pack, or if you have the older M1956 H-harness thing, it connects to a crossbar in the back that has two straps coming down. This is simply just two straps held in the center by a keeper. It holds it pretty firm, so they hold their distance and length very well. Alright, as we flip the system over and look at the internals, the first thing we're going to go over is belt adjustment. And all you do is line up the holes, and they have a little spring clip here. Almost literally looks like a snap swivel from your fishing tackle box with the swivel part cut off. And that's how you adjust the length on both sides. It seems a little flimsy to me, but it seems to work. Also, with the size of the holes and everything, if this were to fail in the field, you can easily fix it with a little bit of 550 cord. So it seems like a low-cost, kind of low-tech solution. Right now I'm going to say that it works, but I can see if I use this in the future, that I'm probably just going to flat-out replace this with 550 cord. Much the way on Alice gear, a lot of soldiers and Marines used to get rid of the metal clips and replace them with either zip ties or 550 cord directly, so they didn't have metal digging into them. Over here on the ammo pouch, you will notice that there's two metal clips. Those work as kind of the same way Alice clips work, except there's no locking mechanism. And actually it's kind of more of akin to the British 56 pattern webbing system, where the British belt has a series of notches in the top that little posts with the same shape would go into to hold the pouch where you wanted it. This seems to just use friction because it slightly pinches in on the belt, and there's no locking mechanism whatsoever. They are spring type of metal, so they do hold their shape pretty well, but it seems to me in a field condition these could get bent fairly easy, but that being said, you can probably bend them back into shape very easily. Now, just the little bit of testing I have done with this rig for fitment and everything, the canteen is held on the same way, and even without a canteen in it, a couple times the pouch actually fell off on me. So while it seems to be a good system for the ammo pouches, not so much for the canteen. Your belt over here is secured by means of this buckle, and you just thread it through, find the holes you want, put it in place, and then tuck the running tail in behind it, and it makes for a fairly steady link up. It works, you know, just as well as the buckles on the US Alice system, which has over its lifetime a multitude of type of buckles. It's nowhere as quick. It is quieter. There's no loud snap or anything like that, but it's not quite as easy to get buckled up, and not quite as definitely not as easy to get unbuckled as the US Alice system. All right, moving on to the shoulder straps. As you can see, this set here was made in 1993, so they used this system pretty much up until the SDS-12 system took into effect in the 2000s. There are two of these Alice type clips on board, one connected to an adjustable strap and one connected to a hook that's non-adjustable but part of the buckling system of this adjustable one. I'm not sure what the intent is behind that. I'll have to do some more research. When I tried connecting the ammo pouches directly to the short one, it made the belt ride very high, which is not the worst thing in the world, especially if you're vehicle mounted. But out in the field I found it would be just too high and uncomfortable, so I used the adjustable strap to go ahead and connect to the ammo pouch tops. In the back straps attached the same way as the front straps do. And the adjustment is just simply by pulling through, and much like Alice system, once I find a happy medium where I permanently want these to be, I will tape these down, because they can, over time, taking off and on, work themselves loose. And to show how compatible this is with the US Alice system, I've gone ahead and mounted a butt pack and two USGI canteens to it, and as you can see, they mounted right on, didn't have any trouble. By flipping the rig around, you can see the Alice system mounted right next to the Swedish system, and you can tell that the systems are compatible. How does it fit? Well, it's very snug with the Alice system, which is something you want because it helps keep the pouches where you want them to be. That's because the belt is just a little bit wider than the US belt. But that is kind of a good thing, because while you have to pinch it down to get into the Alice clips, just like you do with the Swedish clips, it's a thinner belt than the US system, so that pinching down actually tightens it in there and helps keep the pouches in place. If you didn't have to do that, they'd probably slide around a bit on you, which would be no good in the field. All right, well, here's the 304 system with US gear mounted. You can see it basically rides about the same way as it would with Alice gear. So the systems are pretty much compatible, and you would use them basically the same way you'd use 304 the same way you'd use Alice. What would be the advantages of using the 304 system over Alice? One is cost. I got this rig for $11 plus shipping and handling from Veristaleca. If I was to replicate this in US Alice gear, rough price equivalents, I'm going to pay $10 or $12 for the belt. I'm going to pay $12 to $18 for the suspenders. Mag pouches that are only going to hold 3 AR mags are going to run me about $8 each. Canteen pouch, being that this one is practically unusable for me, we won't even count that in the equation. So right off the bat, you're getting a pretty low-cost system that's usable right out of the box. The buckling system is nowhere advanced as the Alice system and is slower in both donning and discarding. But if you have to have a spare rig and you don't want to invest a lot of money in that spare rig, this is probably a good thing to do. If you want to carry more magazines than you want to carry with the US GI system, this is a good option for you. If you just want to have a loaner rig, and you know, that's something to consider these days, because prior to COVID there was a lot of people out there that weren't into this. A lot of people didn't feel this was necessary. You might even know some people who made fun of you for having all this gear. Now suddenly they're very interested in it, you know, and this is when they come to train with you, and I hope they are training. This is a rig you can loan out to somebody at low cost to you. Perhaps even giving it to them and letting them have something until they get their own gear. Always good to have a backup, and this is a nice low-cost alternative to have as a backup. We hope you found this review of the 304 webbing system helpful and informative. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for future gear reviews.